Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Bashem Kakodash. Shalom to the hopefully elect up there. All praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Bashem Kakodash. I'm going to entitle this video Revelation chapter 18, one of my favorite breaks, prophetic scriptures. As I said before, this to me, Revelation 18 is like the closing credits of a movie. And to see who starred in it, the co-star, camera people, the guy walking across the street, the guy climbing upstairs, the first guy that shoots a gun, cop number 3, makeup, costume, so forth. There's a lot of people involved in making a movie. So you can see that at the closing credits. So, this Revelation 18 to me is like the closing credits of that movie called Babylon the Great. Anyway, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. I read it before I, did this video, but I did it in NLT. The NLT laugh when you start reading certain verses, the way it's written, and it's written in a way. To in other words, they take out the these and the thous, which is NLT stands for the New Living Translation. So people that can't get around the these and the thous, and the cometh and the goeth, it's more in plain English. So, you can say this is good for beginners, but really you should be dealing with the King James version. But you can play with these other translations, which give you a different outlook of that particular chapter. And I'm going to go to a couple of precepts also dealing with, using the NLT, the New Living Translation. By the way, if you go to the Blue Letter, you got all these different translations. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got what right here, 32, over 30 different translations. This LXX represents the Septuagint. You got the Vulgate, which is in Latin. The Septuagint is written in Greek. By the way, the Septuagint was written by Israelites for Israelites that didn't quite understand the Hebrew. So they had to write it like us. We're Israelites. We're Hebrew Israelites. And when we read from the scriptures, we're reading from the King James Version or the English version because we don't know, we can't speak, read, and write fluent Hebrew. So that's the same reason why the Septuagint or the LXX, that's why it was written. It was not written for Edomites, that's, Greek Edomites. It was written for Israelites that didn't understand the Hebrew. You have a major church called a major group of Israelites. In the ancient world, they were known as the Alexandrian Jews. There was a major group that left. They were living in Egypt, and 3 times out of the year they would make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem for the high holy days. And chief high holy day out of the 3 was Passover. Then you had the Feast of Weeks, Passover, and you had the Tabernacles. So you were required, if you lived outside of Palestine, to make a pilgrimage to honor those days. And so, here in the States, we give me a second here. So here in the States, we keep the Passover in the States. Now, when the kingdom is established, it will be a, we'll go back to the way they did it in the ancient world, where you would have a gathering on those certain high holy days. Like on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is the first feast or high holy day, if you will, which is based upon the new moon. The Sabbath day is based upon the new moon. The Sabbath day is not based upon the Gregorian calendar or the Julian calendar. The Messiah and the Israelites didn't have a wall calendar. They went to, okay, it's Thursday. I know that Friday night is the Sabbath. They didn't have no Friday night to, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. They did it based upon the new moon. That's why when you go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it gives you a list of the high holy days or the feasts. And it's all based upon the, how many days of the week. Starting point is the new moon. So the first high holy day, feast, if you will, is the Sabbath. And it says of the Sabbath, 6 days shall you labor, and on the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest. So what's the first day? Is it a Monday? Is it a Sunday? Did they have calendars back there that you got at 7-Eleven or Dwayne Reed's or your local mechanic shop? They give out calendars come December. No, they went by they looked up at the moon. The new moon was when the moon, you saw that thin crescent. In other words, when you look up into the sky at night, you didn't see anything. So you knew that was a new moon. And you knew it because a day or two before that, you had a crescent. 2 weeks before that new moon, you had what's called a full moon. So you would know that in 2 weeks, 14, 15 days, the new moon. So you would get ready for it. So our calendar is a divine calendar that the Most High put up in the heavens. So any Israelite group teaching Friday sundown and Saturday sundown is the Sabbath is clearly going off. Anyway, let me get into this. And see, we don't just say things. You're going off on this, you're doing this, you got to do it this way. You went off on that. We prove things. The scripture says, prove all things and hold fast to that which is good. So we proved it in the scriptures because you can't find Friday in the scriptures. Now in the NLT, let me do this. NLT. Let me put in Friday. Look, it says Friday. Friday. Why did they put in Friday? This was done late on Friday afternoon, the day of preparation, as the Sabbath was about to begin, because they believed that Friday sundown was a Sabbath. So they clearly went off. So now if you go to, let's take Nehemiah 13 and 19, and let's go to the King James. That's why you can't really rely on the see if it says Friday in the King James. It says, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, they put their Friday, which wasn't Friday. It was based upon when the new moon came in. So it says, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut because it's the beginning of the Sabbath. So there's no buying or selling. And charged that they should not be open till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So now let's look at that. We're going to get into Revelation 18. Well, let me go to the commentary. Let's just see what the commentary says. Slide this over here. Scripture says, rightly dividing the word of truth, right? Through studying. Let's go to Cambridge, since it's normally the shortest. Let's see what they say. The gates of Jerusalem began to be dark. And by the way, we know that Jerusalem, they didn't call it Jerusalem. There was no J. There was no J back then. J came about by a man by the name of Tricino in 1524. And you first heard that from the leadership of IUIC, GMS, not IUIC. They're still teaching that Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is the Sabbath. The gates of Jerusalem, which by the way means city of peace, began to be dark. The rare words for began to be dark gives rise to the rendering in the Septuagint. LXX stands for the Septuagint. I'm not going to read that. Another suggests rendering is had their bells rung is very ludicrous, deriving the word from the same root as the word for symbols. It said, before the Sabbath, from this we should gather that the Sabbath began as soon as it was dark. Yeah, you knew that when the sun was going down, you can judge by the sun, and you say, well, I got another, there's about to be another half an hour before the sun fully goes down. So that's the ending of a day. So it says before the Sabbath, from this we should gather that the Sabbath began. Shabbat is a rest, which comes from Shabbai, which means seventh in the Hebrew, began as soon as it was dark, not absolutely at sunset, but at the termination of the brief twilight. Gates meaning doors, same word as in the previous clause. Literary youth. To superintend the watch. The object of the watch was not to bar the free passage in and out, but only to prevent the introduction of merchandise on that day. Let's try this one. Pope commentary. When the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, the Jews have always reckoned their days from sunset to sunset, because that was the end of the day. You know, when the moon started going around, depending on the season, like over here in the States, it starts getting dark. The sun goes down. The sun goes down like around almost 8 o'clock. Later in the month, going into the month of June, it'll be about 8 o'clock, a little after 8 o'clock when the sun goes down. It says the evening and the morning. Ark said to constitute each of the 6 days. There was also a special command that the Sabbath of the great day of atonement should be kept from evening to evening. A command that the gates should be shut. The gates would, as a matter of course, have been shut at sunset when the sun went down. Nehemiah required that the closing should take place some half hour earlier when the shadows were lengthening and the day was drawn toward a close, he regarded it as a sort of discretion of the Sabbath to carry on secular work. So everything's supposed to be shut down. That was the day of rest that the Most High instituted. Work, so you couldn't have your slaves work. To the last allowable moment, some of my servants compare Nehemiah 4, verse 16, Nehemiah 5, verse 16, that there should be no, uh, what is that, birthing brought in. Gotta look that word up. Foot passages were no, foot passages, passengers were no doubt allowed to enter and leave the city on the Sabbath. Nehemiah's servants being set to see that under no pretense should merchandise be allowed to enter Nehemiah 13 and 19. Okay, so they're telling you, let's try this one. Matthew Poole's commentary, when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark, which was about sunsetting by reasoning of the mountains which were round about the near Jerusalem. Psalm 125 and 2. Some of my servants set I at the gate out of a defendants in those to whom the keeping of the gates were committed. So they had watch that you couldn't, buy or sell. It was to rest. And that's a law unto death. You got put to death if you broke the Sabbath in any way. Okay, what did I say? I want to go. You know what I'm going to do? Let me go to Isaiah. I believe that's 60. Isaiah 60. Okay, so you got here, therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. But the only time that's going to be stopped is when the Sabbath comes and the gates will be shut. And you cannot work any of the nations, the Esau, you cannot work them. They get a chance to rest because they're coming up under the law. Actually, they're coming up under the covenant. The difference between the covenant to us and the covenant to them is we're going to have a spirit to keep the laws perfectly. We're not in the full fulfillment of the new covenant. We're not in the full fulfillment of the new covenant. The part of the covenant that took place already is when Yahushua became he went into the covenant of the new covenant, the New Testament. So the part that's going to the thing that's going to close the door, so to speak, is when we're changed and when Israel is established. And every son and daughter that's born, they're going to come up under the covenant. And by the way, you come up under the covenant when you're 12 years old. That's what bar mitzvah means, to come up under the covenant. So you do little things, your mother spanks you, your father spanks you. And then when you hit 12 years old, you become a man. So you become a son of the covenant. That's what it means. A bond covenant in the Hebrew. I got to look that word up in the Hebrew. They say mispah. That's this way they say it. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting or destruction. Because the Most High gonna get rid of all those grimy niggas. That if you would have kept the laws, you wouldn't have all these grimy niggas. There's grimy niggas out there, man. That ain't about nothing. They should have all been put to death at the age of 12. Because that's when you put them to death. If they don't want to do nothing, because at the age of 12, you start working. It said violence. I started working when I was 11, 12 years old. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation and thy gates praise. Now, what I was going to say, well, I don't got to get that. So now let's come back over here to Revelation. I'm sorry. Come back. Okay, I think it's over here, Nehemiah. Okay, come back to Nehemiah. Okay, Revelation. Revelation. Revelation 18 and 1 in the NLT, New Living Translation. After all this, I saw another angel come down from heaven with great authority, and the earth grew bright with his splendor. He gave a mighty shout. Babylon is fallen, that great city is fallen. She has become a home for demons. She is a hideout for every foul spirit, a hideout for every foul vulture, scavengers, and every foul and dreadful animal. So, what does it mean by foul? Let's look up the word foul. So, this is going to be a desert, a barren desert, the biggest desert on the planet. And it's also going to be a memorial. Because in the kingdom, we're going to be talking about, every once in a while, the subject of Babylon the Great is going to come up. And we're going to teach our children that. They're going to say, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Cried out with a, and this is definitely the U.S. Okay, so it says unclean. So this this right here, when you click on the word, it takes you back to the King James in order for you to take you back to either the Greek or the Hebrew. and in the NLT it says foul, but the actual word is unclean. Let me do this. Right, it keeps saying ceremonially unclean. Let me try something here. Go to the word bat. See, Moabites eat bats. They say the reason why doesn't say it right here, but it says in the actual King James. Let me do this. The Moabites eat bat and monkeys and so forth. That's a fact because they're heathen. So in the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna beat the shit out of them, not for them not to eat bat and monkey meat no more. And you got Hamites that eat monkey meat. The fucking heathen. Bat. Let's go to the word bat. And if we catch any Israelite eating a bat, we're gonna beat the shit out of you. So it says in this. Let me do this. Lapwing and the bat. You can't eat the bat. I want to go up a couple of verses. This is why the scripture said we're going to be a holy nation, a special people. Avoid the unclean. Now, in NLT in Revelation 18, it says foul, which is unclean. Does it mention? Yes, it mentioned vulture, which is a scavenger. Every raven, which is a scavenger. Owl. You're going to see owls. That's in Isaiah 34. The heron after her kind, and the lapwing and the bat. So all these animals have a job to do. They're the sanitation of the earth. And see, the Most High set this earth up as an ecosystem. Economy means to manage the house. So the Most High set up a natural ecosystem. That's why you have these different animals to do certain things. Some of them are just here like the pig. They're just the swine. They're here to clean up the earth, not for you to eat. People eat shrimp, lobster. Those animals are set up to keep there. That's why everything's out of balance. The whole earth is out of course. So Esau's got to be beaten into submission. And the major thing that's going to beat them down is the fire that's going to come from the Most High, from our Lord and the angels through the lasers and through the missiles, which is the Most High's one of the Most High's hosts, which are the missiles. And Joel 2, it describes the missiles like men marching in order. High priest Ariel used to say those are Jake climbing in the windows. And that never sat with me when he said that. I said, no, I was talking about the missiles. Because the 7 went off here and there. That's why you got to double check things. Even your teachers. Scripture said, in not so many words, I become wiser than my teachers. And we have become wiser than none of the 7 taught about the MOTB, being a charagma. They never went into it. The way they broke it down is a way everybody else breaks it down because they're going by what the 7 said. The 7 went off at certain times. Abba went off at certain times. Mosai gives you this in measure. That's also in Isaiah 34:16. Mosai didn't just give it to one man, High Priest Ariel. Or the Mosai didn't just give it to the 7. Others have entered into your labor. So where are any of the 7? Not one of the 7, which right now, 5 of them are still alive. Lahab, Yeshaya, Ariah, not in any order, Shah, and Gazak. Yaquab and Mashah, King Mashah, is in the spiritual realm. They've been in the spiritual realm for over 20 years. So they're well acclimated up in the spiritual realm. So the rest of the 7, which are 5, are they out there teaching on the highways and the byways? Well, Ahab's teaching, but he's going off. He teaches a lot of the right things, but he'll go off. He'll go left sometimes. So the Spirit went from them to us. When I say us, I'm talking about the sincere brothers that are of the elect, hopeful elect, that are teaching. And that doesn't just include GMS, it includes any of those camps. Because my personal belief, this is my personal belief, is that there's elect among them. Because there's going to be a major wake up call when they actually set up that the Karagma system, and you're going to have like I've been saying in previous videos, there's going to be a big shakeup in Israel as to what do we do and what does it really mean, and is it the actual fulfillment of Revelation 13, 16, and 17? And they're going to run to their leaders, and if their leaders say no, you can go ahead and take it, and you go ahead and take it, you're going to be destroyed, and the one that told you to take it is going to be destroyed too. That's Ezekiel. What is that? Ezekiel 3, verse 18. It speaks about warning them. Scriptures in Isaiah 62 and 6. It speaks about the men on the watchtower. So we got to watch for the enemy. It also speaks about the wolf coming. Matter of fact, let me get that, and I'm gonna get right into Revelation 18. Wolf. Good. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, let me John 10, verse 12. But he that is an hireling, let's look up the word hireling. Let me get the So let's look it up and let's go into the root of that word. One hired, a hireling, one that is hired, one that took the bag. So maybe they teach you that because they took the bag. We'll find out in time. But he that is a hireling and not the shepherd, the leader, lead them the right way. And they're also called Judas goats, whose own the sheep are not. See if the wolf coming, and what wolf is getting ready to come, what major wolf is getting ready to come? The Karagma. So we've been telling you about that wolf for years. You got others that are saying, well, no, that's not a wolf. You can go up and have your kids pet that thing. You can ride on that. You can put your kids on the back of the wolf and ride around with it. That wolf is there to protect you. That's what they're teaching in essence. So like I said, there'll be a big shakeup, and a lot of motherfuckers in their mind, their GMS is gonna pop in their head. Then they're gonna go to all the GMS videos. Then they're gonna go to the teacher, and depending on what their leaders say, they'll do. So I pray that their leaders come to the light and tell the truth. And then ultimately they're gonna say, well, wait a minute, GMS was, well, we were wrong. If they're sincere, they'll say that. If not, We don't know what they're going to say, but they could say there ain't nothing wrong with it. Go ahead and take it, and then you're doomed to destruction, and your leaders are doomed. So these are not the real shepherds. It says, see if the wolf coming and leaveth the sheep and fleeth, and the wolf catch them and scattereth the sheep. It says the hireling, the one that took the bag or does this for money, fleeth because he is an hireling and careth not for the sheep. So if you care for the sheep, because look at it, all these different camps and these people coming in. I'm not talking about the ones that's been in this thing for 15, 16 years that are top teachers in GMS I'm dealing with. Those, they're going to keep it going. They're going to keep this word going because it says in Colossians, they're grounded and settled. We're talking about the ones that been in this thing for 2 years, a year and a half, 6 months, 3 years. They're still, they're still 5 years. They're still novice. And so they're following the shepherd, what they think the shepherd is. So what they do is they don't know how to go into the precepts and precept upon precept. So they go by the leaders. They go to the classes. They ask the leaders, whatever the leaders say. They trust what the leaders say because you establish in your head that this is the leader and the Most High is dealing with him. Let's use, for example, the IUIC. The head leader is Bishop Nate, and the Most High is dealing with him. The Most High is not dealing with GMS, IUCPK, none of those other groups, AOC, whatever, none of those groups. So whatever this man says, that's like the Most High talking. And like I've been saying in the past, every once in a while I say this. That's why the Apostle Paul praised the Church of Berea. He said, I honor the Church of Berea over the Church of Thessalonica because they don't just believe what I say. They go and check it out for themselves. They double check what I'm saying. They're verifying trust, but yet verify. So this is a major wolf, the charagma. That's why we always doing videos on it. So now let me go into the root of that word. To let out for hire, to hire, because you got spies, you got infiltrators among us that are getting a check to infiltrate what we're doing. Mythos, dues paid for work. You're putting on a garment, the border blue, you got all the, how about you now, shy back a thumb. You're reading, you know the scriptures, you study, because you're an insider. Well, I got a precept. Wages higher, dues paid for work. If they stop paying you, or if somebody in the camp suspects that they seen you come out of the police station with a police, garment on, and then you get confronted by the leader, you ain't gonna come around no more. They said reward. They do it for reward. They believe in money more than they believe this truth. And some of them that come in actually start to believe. Let's look at the Apostle Paul. Paul was set up to destroy the ones that followed the Messiah, and he wound up becoming a chief follower of the Messiah. It's a use of the fruit naturally resulting from toils and endeavors in both senses, rewards and punishments of the rewards which the Most High bestowed or will bestow upon good deeds and endeavors of punishments. So the ones of you that did do this thing for hire, the Most High is there's a special kind of punishment for you. There's a special kind of death for you. And you're going to be remembered in the kingdom as that spy on the other side. So this is serious business, man. We're almost out of here. The main prophecy that got to come to pass is the wolf, the charagma. So you know what? I'm finished with that. Let me go ahead and deal with Revelation. NLT, Revelation, Revelation 18. He gave a mighty shout, Babylon is fallen, that great city. And it's not talking about the Vatican City. That's why you got this guy, Nazariah. I don't know what he's doing. He's not on YouTube. I don't know if he's on Facebook. I don't know what's going on. He had certain men follow them, and they said that Babylon is not the U.S. Babylon is the Vatican City. But they would never go to the scripture to prove it. And eventually, they did. One guy was going back and forth with. He said Babylon is the Vatican Church, the Vatican City, and he went to a scripture. Matter of fact, let me go to it. This is why they wasn't quick to bring it on out, because they would have got cut. They would have said, that's it. This is the scripture that proves that the Vatican City. And we were like, what? Nigga, you out your damn mind? It's in Peter. It's in the book of either First Peter or Second Peter. There it is right here. First Peter 5, verse 13. Let me go up a verse or two. Let me do this. Serve the Most High willingly. To him by glory and dominion forever and ever. So be it. I say so be it when I see our men. By Silvanus, a faithful brother. And this man was either Greek or Grecian. So Vanus is not Hebrew. This was the opening to the Gentiles. The Gentiles are referring in the New Testament, are referring to Israelites that didn't necessarily know that they were Israelites, caught up in that mess during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes. A faithful brother unto you, as I suppose I have written briefly, exhorting and testifying that this is the true grace of the Most High wherein ye stand. The church that is at Babylon, elected together with you, salute you, and so doeth Marcus, my son. So what does that mean, that there was an actual church in Iraq? I did a video showing you that there was people, Israelites that were living in Iraq. There's a woman named Snow Allegra. She did a song did a video on it. It was called Nothing Burns Like the Coal. So the video, that was a short video. I said, tell me who she is, if she an Israelite or not. Most individuals said she's an Israelite. She's definitely a Jake. Others say, nah, she a heathen. She a heathen. Well, we'll find out. But we do know that Israel was scattered, and one of the places that they were scattered to was Babylon in Iraq. A lot of those people in Iraq, a certain number of them are Israelites that speak the what's the language? It's not Pashtun. It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's not Arabic. The people of Iran, they don't speak Arabic. I forget, it's right on the tip of my tongue. All you got to do is go to Google. It's worth the Google and put in the official language of Iran. Damn, it's right on the tip of my tongue. The Afghans speak Pashtun, the Pashtun language. Okay, let me do this. Babylon. Oh, this is what I was going to do. Farsi. They speak Farsi. The Afghans speak Pashtun because they're not Ishmaelites. They're Elamites. I don't know why this thing is not coming up. First Peter. Let me do it this way. Let me try it this way. Okay, here we go. First Peter. Let's see what that means. Matter of fact, we got to go to commentary. See, it's acting up. Let me come back. Do it this way. Comment. Okay, I think we got it. First Peter 5, verse 13, commentary. Let's try this one. That is at Babylon, 3 places have claimed to be understood under this name. A little place called Babylon in Egypt, which has nothing to plead for itself except the unlikelihood of St. Peter ever being at the Oriental Babylon. They doing too much explaining. Let me see. The further question, what place is meant by Babylon, remains of discussion, and here also we have to note a wide diversity of opinion. On the one hand, Papias, Bishop of Hierapolis, and Clement of Alexandria, and we had a big community of Israelites in Alexandria, as reported by Eusebius. Take the word figuratively, blah, 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 blah. Let me try another one. It was an actual place where Babylon was. So you had Israelites living in Egypt, you had Israelites living in Iraq. Okay, so it says, First Peter, Bengals, Nomen, First Peter 5, verse 13, in Babylon. This was Babylon of the Chaldeans, which abandoned the Jews, afforded by the Babylon. There followed a series of countries. The co-elect in Babylon. So it was the actual place, ancient Babylon. So these guys equated to say, well, there was a church in Babylon. Well, that's the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church, which is the Vatican City. They went off. And they're not men of the Lord. That's why they're back in the world. That's why they're not on YouTube. The scriptures say, make full proof of thy ministry. YouTube is a major uh, place to push this word. So let's come back to this. He gave a mighty shout, Babylon is fallen. So what Babylon is it talking about? The U.S. That great city, a city is as big as its citizens. How many citizens are in Babylon? Official citizens, which are U.S. citizens. About 350 million. Then you got the various other nations. So how many people are living in Babylon? Living in America. I had to throw that in there. You got, we're talking maybe 400 million people, maybe more. They supposedly said years ago that the legal aliens from South America, like 12 million. That was like figure maybe 20 years ago. So you got an influx of a lot of them coming up in here. That's the rest of them tribes gathering up in here. Some of them that's coming from South America are most likely part of the elect. See, this is beautiful, man. And we can see this thing playing out, man. The Most High, he gave us the cheat codes. So anything that we see, we filter right through the scriptures. These individuals that fall off, they don't see it. They look into the scriptures and there's nothing there for them. It says, he gave a mighty shout, Babylon is fallen. That great city is fallen. She has become a home of demons. She is a hideout for every foul or unclean spirit, and a hideout for every foul or unclean vulture and every unclean and dreadful animal. All the nations have fallen because of the wine of her passionate immorality. Because everything this man gives you is immoral. You know, that's why you had Kamala Harris, that demon. You had to go to Uganda with a $60 million check to give to the leadership. And that you can, they'll keep it for themselves. They'll throw little crumbs to their people, but they can live luxuriously. They can up their station in life. So her thing was to push this humanitarianism, and it's not right to punish them, the happy people. So they were like, F you, So don't be surprised if there's troops, that enter into Uganda. Matter of fact, they have what is it called? It's called the AFRICOM, which is short for abbreviation for Africa Command, meaning you have U.S. military in Washington that's stationed in Africa. You have North Command. North Command is a military that's stationed over here in the Americas. When you do the research, you find out there's 800 plus military base, U.S. military bases around the world. Anytime you have a military base in another sovereign country, that's called an occupation. You really run that place. And that's what made them great. What made them great is their military. This is Rome all over again. And Nero might just be up in that seat again. As if all the nations have fallen because of the wine of a passionate immorality. The kings of the world have committed adultery, went to bed with her. The policies, all these different leaders of these different nations, these sovereign nations, when they come to the UN, and that's all of them, man. Even the so-called terrorist nations, they get to come to the UN because they're on neutral ground, and they partake in what the policies of this place, because all of them are leaders based upon an election which came from America, which is called democracy. So they all drunk that Babylon juice. They said, I've committed adultery with her because of her desires for extravagant luxury, because many people became rich by this place. The merchants of the world have grown rich. And you're going to find out the main merchant right now, there's many countries, but the main country that grew rich is China. China, you have almost 500 billionaires in China. How do you think they become billionaires? Through exporting things. Everything that you get pretty much comes from China. If China was to, you know, call they say boycott, embargo. Embargo means you have a tariff, and you have embargoes. An embargo means you're not sending your goods to that particular country because you declared an embargo. If China says we're declaring the embargo against the U.S. is going to die. The U.S. is going to die. The shelves are going to be empty because your car parts, they're all made, and sometimes they're made in China and manufactured in other countries. Give me a second. Then I heard it. Then I heard another voice calling from heaven, "Come away from her, my people." The people are talking about the elect of Israel, not all Israel. And the seven used to teach back in the day, One West. They used to say, "Well, we got to get passports and we got to actually leave here before the missiles hit," because they knew that the missiles were going to hit, but they didn't know that we were going to be beamed up, so to speak, in chariots. So what is this talking about? This is the angel saying, you know, he's going to summon us up, and we're going to be beamed up into that ship, Yahweh's ship, which is the size of a mountain. It says, "Do not take part in her sins, or you will be punished with her." So who's going to be punished with her? The Israelites that are not a part of the elect. These people in the church system, these are black apologists, Jake and the Islam, the Moors, the black consciousness community, because all of them is going to take the Quran, because there's nothing in their book, their sacred books, that say, don't take this thing. So they're going to go ahead and take it because they want to eat, and their kids got to eat. So the punishment is the fire. For his sins are piled as high as heaven, and that's in Amos 9:2. And the Most High remembered her evil deeds. You have a thing called the Monroe Doctrine. You can look up that. You have a thing called the Papal Bull, where the Pope at that time, he issued the Papal Bull. I believe that was 493, 492, 492, 492, 493, during the time of Columbus. No, that was after Columbus went to the New World. So the Pope at that time, and I believe that was Rodrigo, if I'm not mistaken, he issued a papal bull, a decree from the Pope, that anything to the west, which was Americas, Canada, North America, the U.S., Central America, and South America, that's all y'all. We taking that. And then there's another term called manifest destiny. And when you look that up, it says the Most High blessed us to take your land, and now it's being manifested. So were they just in taking the land? Yes and no. They were just in taking the land because the Most High wanted them to take the land to fulfill prophecy, but they were unjust because they, at this time they supposed to say, "Well, you guys are the Israelites." That's why they're talking about reparations right now. That's the big argument is reparations, and that's also Job 20. It said that children shall seek to please the poor. They're seeking to appease us. We're giving us a check. It says, do to her as she has done to others. Double. So what did this man do? He done jacked up the whole world. He had made the world a wilderness. Isaiah 14. Double her penalty for all her evil deeds. She brewed a cup of terror. And what does she use the word? That's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. This is a hate group. Everything that you did, your foundation is based upon hate and terror. How the hell are you going to turn around? You got a guy that's a thief. He's a he's a career thief. This nigga been stealing since he was a kid. And all his life, he never worked a day in his life. All he did was stole, rip people off, rob people at gunpoint. And then somebody steals something from them. And that's a thief right there. That's a thief. So that's this man. You got some nerve calling us a hate group, man. This country is based upon hate and white supremacy. Go to any church. Certain churches, they got statues and paintings and so forth, stained glass window. They're all fucking white people. Anytime you see a black people in those those plain pane glass windows and statues and stuff, it'll be a black guy. The Sistine Chapel, which if you go to the Sistine Chapel, they don't show you the guy where Michael's is beating the hell out of a guy, a dark brown skinned guy with woolly hair. And that's supposed to be with little horns coming out of his head. They don't show you that. If you go to the Sistine Chapel, they're going to cut that part out. So you actually got to go to the Sistine Chapel to see it. Show you Michael, what's supposed to be Michael the Archangel, looking like one of the village people, will look like a paddle in his hand, beating the hell out of the devil, which was a so-called dark-skinned so-called black man with woolly hair. So, the tables are going to be turned. She glorified herself and lived in luxury. So match it now with torment and sorrow. So as much as you lived in a luxurious life, the Most High is going to give you it double in punishment and torment. And that's what the torment means. The fire went up forever, and they were tormented day and night. The torment is going to be after when the missiles hit, the smoke clears, and you're put in slavery because you're going to be tormented in slavery. She boasted in her heart, I am queen on my throne. I am no helpless widow, and I have no reason to mourn. What precept should come to mind? Isaiah chapter 47. Therefore, these plagues will overtake her in a single day. And then inside of a single day, meaning 1 hour, Revelation 9, in 1 hour. Death and mourning and famine, she shall be completely consumed by fire. The fire is the nuclear fire, the ICBM missiles, the hypersonic missiles, the lasers from the ships. So this whole place, 5,000 square miles, will be on fire, the biggest fire in the history of mankind. And that's right during the time of Jacob's trouble. So most of the world will be Karagmad. She will be completely consumed by fire. The she is represent the U.S., representing the U.S. And these Edomite pastors know about this, but they're afraid to say it. They're afraid to come out and say that I hate to say this, they're not going to teach it to their congregation because they won't have no congregation. Ain't no pastor, and especially the black church, which is the biggest joke on the planet Earth. The biggest joke on the planet Earth. You ain't gonna learn a damn thing in the church, in the black church. You're gonna learn a few things in the so-called white church. There's even so-called, when I say white, you know what I mean by white. The so-called white church, a lot of those churches teach that the MOTB, is the fulfillment of, the Quran. They teach that, especially down south in the Bible Belt. And they're going to be the first ones that's going to jump up. I'm not taking that thing. That's the MOTB. That's the first people that's going to jump up and say it. That's why you got these other camps saying that, we're following Esau and, our high priest is Alex Jones. Well, guess what? You're going to have a lot of explaining to do when your people come to you saying, do I got to take this? Because they told me if I don't take it by the end of the week, I don't come back no more. And then if you go ahead and do it, you go to BJ's or wherever you go to, Costco's, Target, and you go to buy something, and they say you can't buy it unless you got that thing in your hand. Well, I got the smartphone with the app in it. We ain't dealing with that no more. It's got to be inside your body. So it's going to be found out that the great millstone was always correct. Then it shall be known who are thy chosen. Then it shall be known that a prophet has been among you. She will be completely consumed by fire, for the Lord Most High, who judges her, is mighty. Most High set her up. The Most High is going to take her down in a spectacular manner. And the kings of the world who committed for adultery, which is all these nations. All these nations. Let's put it this way: all the nations that attend the UN General Assembly, they all went to bed with her and enjoyed her great luxury. And who enjoyed her great luxury? The leaders of those countries, man, will mourn for her as they see the smoke rising from her charred. I love this. From her charred remains. Every once in a while, they'll show a dead body that's black, look like a burnt up piece of furniture. They said this is the charred remains of this man. So that's what this place is going to look like. Charred remains. And ultimately, those charred remains will be a desert. And it's also going to be a forbidden zone. Nobody's going to be able to step on this place, this landmass. But we're going to be speaking about it to our sons and daughters. They will stand at a distance. And what does it mean they will stand at a distance? They're going to be in their respective countries. And how are they going to see it? They're going to see it through the TV, through the news. There's going to be breaking news around the whole planet Earth, around the whole globe. Breaking news. And before that happens, they're going to try to negotiate with Russia. That's in Isaiah 13. They're going to try to sit down and negotiate. And then something's going to happen where it ain't going to work. And Russia and then the EU nations, the NATO nations, the allies of this place, they're going to hit that button. And the earth is going to rock back and forth like a drunkard. See, Vocab will never teach this to you because he doesn't understand the prophecies. So why would we follow Vocab Malone? He doesn't understand the prophecies. It said they will stand at a distance, terrified by her great torment, which is the fire, by the ICBM missiles. They will cry out, how terrible for you, old Babylon. I'm not going to say Babylon. They're going to say the U.S. You can imagine people breaking news from different countries. They're going to be close enough where you see that. You see that smoke. That's a miracle on fire. Let's get a close up of that. You're going to have satellites. This is a satellite image of Babylon. And people are going to be crying. They're going to be, they're going to be upset. And some of them are going to be upset because they're not, that's their cash cow. The cash cow is gone. Because what do you have in America? A bunch of consumers. People get credit cards. What do people do? And I did this myself. The first credit card I got, I maxed that shit out. Then you know when it hurt when the bills came. But I mean, I believe they gave me a $2,000 limit, so it wasn't that bad. So I kind of paid it. Then they kept sending me cards. I got like 12 cards. I cut all of them. I think I got maybe one card which I don't even use, maybe two. I got like a debit card, a prepaid card, and I got my debit card because I got a bank card. So if I got to use a credit card, I'll use that prepaid debit card, which I haven't used shit in about a year. But if I can't use cash, if I go to like a place where self checkout, like yesterday I was at a place and I couldn't pay with cash, so I pulled out my bank card and it just came out. I got the money to cover it, so I know, okay, well, I spent $50 at this particular place, so I know that I got to put $50 back in. So what American people do, they don't have no money, so they max out their car. People they want to appear like they're doing better than they really doing. So instead of getting a decent, running the bill, maybe a pre-owned car, something like that, they'll get a brand new, and they'll get like a Genesis because it looks like a Maybach. The Genesis, I believe that's a luxury department of the not the Kia, it's the Hyundai. I think it's the luxury division of the Hyundai, and those are good. You can see they look. Have you ever see a Genesis? They look like Maybachs. They look just like Maybachs. So you got Jake that's in the music industry, that's in the sports. Jake, what do Jake mostly do? They retire with $100 million, 100 plus million, 200 million, and they go broke. They go broke inside of a couple of years. Because what are they doing? They buying shit. They buying shit. They're buying the best shit. They eating the best foods. The clothes that they wear are the most of it is those high brands, the Gucci's, the Louis Vuittons. That's what Jake does. When Jake makes it, they get that the top quality shit. But Esau does the same goddamn thing. So that's how, China and other countries became rich. It says, Babylon, oh Babylon, you great city, in a single moment, the Most High's judgment came on you. And they're not going to say that. The news people on this old Babylon, they're going to call them, oh, this is a sad day. This is the worst. This is worse than the World Trade Centers going down by far. Because when the World Trade Centers went down, it was breaking news all over the planet Earth. I was working at that time. I was doing logistics. I was making deliveries to different office buildings. And I remember at about 11:30, I went to one building that I normally went to, and they said, you can't come in, it's closed. And I went to the next building, it was closed. Everything, I believe there was an alert to close all the businesses. I believe it was around 11:30. And I had went to this bar, and I delivered checks to this bar, and the bar was filled with people because everybody in them offices, they went to bars and they were drinking. They were all there, and they had the TV playing on the ceiling, you know, with the building, you know, and everybody was talking about it. Oh, this is a damn shame. Oh, this is a damn shame. And I remember Edomites were nervous as hell. And I remember when they what's the term? They the air the sky they closed down all planes. It was a no-fly zone. And I remember there was a couple of Edomite women standing. I was someplace, and you saw two jets go by, two military jets go by. And I remember us all looking up there, and they had that nervous look on their faces. I remember that. I said, those were definitely jets. You know how you look up and you see a plane going over there, plane over there. You didn't see none of that. And the only things that you saw flying in the sky were military jets and helicopters, which I didn't see none of them. Should I seen Ospreys, if I'm saying it the right way? It's a military helicopter that's like a half plane, half helicopter, and it flies like a plane, like a jet, but it lands like a helicopter. You know, it can land vertically. And now I seen that in the city. I said, what the hell is military or Osprey, whatever you call it, doing out here? Because they plan on attacking Jake. It said the merchants of the world will weep and mourn for her, for there is no one left to buy their goods. So why are they really weeping? Because they lost the cash cow. The goose that laid the golden eggs got burnt up. Can you imagine if you actually had a goose that laid the golden eggs and it's in the barn and the barn catches on fire and you get over there and you see the goose that lays the golden eggs as charred remains? You're gonna cry. You're gonna think about committing suicide. So guess what? That's the same way these people are gonna be crying, and they're not necessarily. They're gonna cry for, America because they might have relatives. They're just gonna cry to cry. They're gonna be sad. Oh, this is a sad day. And the different newscasters, the RT News and the Euro News and the Al Jazeera's and CNN International. The CNN in Atlanta is going to be gone. The CNN International offices are going to be open. The CNN offices in London, and they'll be talking about it. And then they're going to be talking about their correspondents, their newscasters in New York or in Atlanta. Oh my, we were friends and he's dead. There's no survivors. So that's going to be a hell of a day. And when that happens, we looking to be in ships. If we remain in this thing, endure to the end, all you dudes and you women that turn your back on this truth and went back into the world, turn your back on the plow, you're going to be a part of that fire. They're going to be mourning for you. You're going to be on fire. Nigga, you think you're going to be delivered. You ain't going to be delivered. It says, all you demons in Israel, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua going to get every last one of you, man. It says, and this is why I do what I got to do I do it because it's in my spirit to do it, but ultimately it's because of the fear, the terrors of the Most High, we persuade men. You believe in this thing, you know this truth, you hate the road, so what do you got to do? You got to push it to other people. We know this, man. I'm not putting this up for myself. I'm putting this up for y'all. Mainly, not even for the ones that have been in this thing for 15, 16 years, because they know this. They know this breakdown. They know all the breakdowns. We went into all the prophetic breakdowns back in 2009, 2008, 2010, 2000. We did that. You can go to, what is it called? Breakthroughs. What the hell is it called? I'll put it in the description where you can get all them old videos that we did back in the 2014, 2012, 2010, 2009. We broke everything down, pretty much. It says she brought 12th verse, she brought great quantities of gold, silver. What's gold and silver and jewelry and pearls is considered what? Commodity. You have have you ever heard the term uh, COMAX? You ever watch the financial news station like a Bloomberg or a CNBC, and they mention the term COMAX? That's short for commodity. Was it co yeah, Comex means commodity exchange. So when they say commodity exchange, it's talking about the price of gold, the price of silver, the price of diamonds, the price of certain things like fine linen, purple, silk. Those are all commodities. When prices go up through inflation, guess what? Commodities go up as well. So this is the best time to buy gold and silver and commodities. It says, she she bought great quantities of gold, silver, jewelry, and pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, and scarlet cloth, things made of fragrant thyine wood, ivory goods, and and objects made of expensive wood and bronze, iron, and marble. Now I have a table that I got from Bob's Furniture, which Bob didn't make that table set. It's a dining set, and it looks real expensive, but it's really cheap as wood, but it's sturdy, and the grain of the wood is nothing but it's like a wallpaper, so to speak. It's a picture of fine wood. But if you didn't know anybody, you say, "Damn, how much you pay for that? Would you pay like $3,000-$4,000 for it?" No, I got it. I got it for way less than 1,000. I got it for about 500, brand new. Then they had people come in and assemble it for me, and they'll tell you Apostle Gabar, Apostle Gabar, and Apostle Rhymelove, because that's their favorite seat to sit at. Apostle Ricard sit in the same seat every week, and Apostle Rhymelove sit in the same seat, and they eat their food there. Then I make sure the next day I clean whatever speck of food, I clean it. You know, but the super rich, they'll get a table like that might cost $10,000. Oh, these super rich, they get beds. You find a bed. The last bed I got paid like 300, which is a good bed. I got it from a wholesale store, BJ's. But the rich, you go to these certain bed shops, the top quality beds can cost you anywhere from starting from $5,000 to $10,000, and they're super comfortable. It says, so let me read the 13th verse. I'm almost finished. It says, she also bought cinnamon. Spices come from other parts of the world. Spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, olive oil, the best olive oil. It used to be Italy. Now it's like places like Spain and Greece. Olive oil from Italy. There's a lot of cheap oil. And then myrrh, forget about real olive oil comes from other countries, Greece and Spain. And there's a couple other countries. Anyway, it says fine flour, the best flour because they eat the best food. It says fine flour, wheat, and everything that they eat is organic superfoods, and you got organic, you got non-GMO, and you got superfoods. Because that's what we try to eat. We try to eat. We try to eat good. If I get anything, I'm always trying to get anything that's organic and or non-GMO. It says cattle, sheep, horses, chariots, which is cars, because your cars are mostly manufactured. It used to be what made America great was Ford, GM, these car companies, and the whole assembly line started by Henry Ford, which I believe he's a Jake. I could be wrong, because he hated the small hats. Anyway, that whole concept of an assembly line, the Chinese picked that up. And the Chinese make you fix, they what they do is they have a lot of people that are slaves. They work there all day, they sleep there. They got buildings that they work in. Now, if you can open up the window and jump out the window, they got suicide nets, because some people want to jump out the window and commit suicide. That's how hard that they work them. So if they happen to break a window and jump out the window, there's a suicide net. They'll arrest you, interrogate you, and put you back in that building. They did that over here in the Americas to the Edomites that came over here. They call them the sweatshops, where they had them women, making them. And who ran that? Who ran that? The people that call us the hate group. Them people became rich because of the condition of poor people. What do you think this whole thing about the turn of the century, the immigrants coming over here? Why do you think they brought them over here? So they can experience the greatness of America? No, so they can work their asses off. They work their asses off. Those were the so-called Mexicans of that time. Italians, they call WAPs. What does WAP mean? WAP is an acronym for without papers, meaning you're not legal. It's the same thing with the Mexicans and South Americans, man. They're coming over here because they don't make the money that they can make in America. And what they do is they send it back. Why do you think so many so-called Africans are in this country? Because of the money. Jamaicans, West Indians. You can make more money in the Americas. You come to the Americas, you have your family stay there, and you send them money. Horses, chariots, meaning cars, trucks, luxury cars, and bodies, that is human slaves. What made America great? The greatness of America come from the southern states and the northern states too, because they took us against our will to serve slavery. So what you got to do is to cut. That's called cutting the overhead. If you open up a business and you had 20 kids and they were all grown up or whatever, some of them younger, and you said, I'm gonna have my family work the business, so when I get old, the business will go to them. Guess what? You don't got to pay them nothing, because you got to take care of them. So they're just working for free. But guess what? They're a part of that family. So they get the benefits in the long run. So what you do is you go to another nation, you grab a couple of people against their will, and you work them. And the only thing you do is the only money you spend on them is to feed them, to keep them alive for the next day, and put them in a meager house, slave quarters. Even General Yohani did a thing on that. I was watching it. It was a very good video. He went to this slave quarter down south somewhere. So I was getting into it, man. If brothers from other camps do a good video, I'll watch it. And he was getting down. The spirit was on him at that time. So that was the fulfillment of what? See, little did they know is that that's the fulfillment of Deuteronomy chapter 28. The main precept is Deuteronomy 28:68, Deuteronomy 28:32, so forth. Deuteronomy 28:36, Deuteronomy 28:47, 48, 49. Deuteronomy 28:68 is talking about the slave ships coming to America. And when he got us over here, if you tried to run, you got a yoke of iron put on your neck. That's Deuteronomy 28:48. That never happened to the small hats. You cannot show me one picture of us JJ with a yoke of iron around their neck. Anytime you go yoke iron around your neck, Deuteronomy 28 and 48, there's always a Jake, a black person. Those are the Israelites. Those are the Israelites. 14 verse, almost out of here. The fancy things you love so much are gone. Yeah, it's going to go up in smoke, up in flames. Then they cry, all your luxuries and splendor are gone forever, never to be yours again. So what does Psalm 149 say? Really, the whole chapter. It's starting from the 5th verse. It's a short chapter. I believe it's 6 verses long. It speaks about the rich being shackled up because they know that missiles are going to hit this place. So they're going to be in their neutral country. They're going to be in their underground cities, their underground bunkers. They might be on a space station. They could be in they'll be in a neutral countries. So guess what? When we come back down, we're going to gather the whole world and we're going to set up slave stations. That's Isaiah 24. It says the merchants who became wealthy, who became wealthy. Many nations, but mainly the Chinese. People used to look down on the Chinese people. There's about 500 billion, almost 500 billion billionaires. Almost 500 billionaires in China. And how did they become billionaires or multi-billionaires? Through merchandise, exporting stuff to this country and around the world. The merchants who became wealthy by selling her, the U.S., these things, and not just her, but around the world. But here, because this is a major place of consumers, will stand at a distance. They're going to be watching on the news, terrified by her great torment, which is the fire. They will weep and cry out. And we read a couple of verses above this, the reason why they're going to weep. And like I said, some of them is going to feel bad. Some of them are going to have relatives over here. You know, when you see a major tragedy, you're going to feel bad. But the main reason why they're going to feel bad, because their cash cow is no longer here. And see, what they don't realize is that when we come back down in ships, we're going to come out like the X-Men. We're going to come out like Marvel characters and DC characters, superhero style, like Thanos and Doom and, Kal-El, and Green Lantern and all these different characters. Oh, Black Adam. We're gonna come in the spirit of Black Adam. You know that. You know that. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna take over the whole earth and we're gonna teach them the law, statutes, and commandments, and they're gonna be under us. And they're gonna be our slaves too, but the number one slave is gonna be you Edomites. Why do you think Edomites always roll up on different camps with their scriptures? Because they're looking for a way in. Because they know that there's no way in. So they figure, well, if I can convince them that this scripture means that, then I have a way in. There ain't no way in. The only way in is if you're an Israelite that happens to look like an Edomite. See, they're really scared. They're really scared. These JJs, they call us this, that, and the other because they're really scared. Because guess what? Their scholars are telling them, those are the people. Those are the people. I put up a video on Odyssey. The last video I put up was a video that Go Black to America put up on these ancient maps, and you can Google them, ancient maps of Africa, and they'll mention on the ancient maps that Italian explorers put together. They would say Judah over here, Ephraim over there, and these are not maps that we made. These are maps that Edomites made when they colonized the African continent. So they knew that there were Israelites living scattered throughout Africa. Mainly, we scattered throughout all of Africa, but mainly the West Coast. That's where the slaves came from. So who did they enslave? They enslaved the Israelites, not Africans, fulfilling Deuteronomy 28. How terrible, how how terrible for that great city. She was clothed in finest purple and scarlet lens. Dude, she was doing good. A lot of rich came out of that. Now, let me show you this. We'll leave it here on 16. I'm going a little long, but no, she looks all embarrassed. See, she was out of order. She's completely out of order. And then she's wearing a skirt, but it's a tight fitting skirt. She was embarrassed. That's why, look, we don't deal with women. Now, if you want to watch the videos, that's as close as you're going to get. That's all I'm going to give you. That's all I'm going to give you. So where did I say I was going to go? Okay, let me come right here. Let me come over here. Scriptures tell you about having a woman gad abroad. Let me do this. No reparation, no vote. No reparation, no vote. Black people are tired of waiting. They don't give a damn if you don't vote. If you don't vote, the Republicans are going to get up in there. I don't give a damn if you don't vote. Okay, let me see. So I put these up. Let's see what comes up. Okay, boom. World's billionaires list. Where's the Jake at? Where's Jay-Z? Where's Oprah Winfrey? Where's Denzel? They ain't on that list. Let me open the list up. Let me open the list up. Now, one so-called Negro's on that list. Because as far as a Jake can go, the Jake could be worth maybe $2 billion. Jake is not going to be worth $250 billion. Now, they tell you the richest guy on this list here, Edomite, small hat, Edomite, small hat, Edomite, I believe he's a small hat, Bloomberg, small hat. That's Jack Ma. But you can clearly see that they're all Edomites. So this is the richest one on the list. Bernard Arnault, I believe he's from France. And they're going to tell you how much he's worth. He's worth 205 billion. So he can just blow 5 billion like it's nothing. And he's still got 200 billion left. And that 200 billion, he's constantly making money. Every time he checks his bank account, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. If you got that type of money, money makes money. Money makes money through investments. He can just live off the interest. Or what does it say? Bernard Arnault, from out of France, French business, a magnate. Bernard Arnault, head of what? Luxury goods. So who purchases luxuries? Americans that had the money. Didn't we read about that? The luxurious life that they were living? So let me do this just to show you that Chinese, let me do this. This is by country. Okay, America supposedly have the most billionaires. United States of America, 735 billion. But they've been making money since before the turn of the century. People's Republic of China, almost 500, shy of 500 billionaires. And Jake ain't on this list. United States, Republic of China, India, Germany, Edomites, Russia, Edomites, Hong Kong, 66 billionaires. Italy, Edomite nation. 64, Canada, Edomite controlled nation. Taiwan, Moab, United Kingdom, Edomite. And see, most of this money come from when they first got over here. We're talking from the 1400s, the late 1400s and the 1500s. And most of them became rich. This is what the term is, old money. The Oppenheimers and so forth, which came on the scene. You know, the Rothschilds got to come up through the Oppenheimers, and that's old money. And those old names that you hear, like the Barclays go back. Their riches came from enslaving people, and they used to have it in Google, but they took it off. They took that information off. So we almost finished in the 16th verse. It says, how terrible for that great city. What made it great is riches. She was clothed in finest purple and scarlet linens, decked out with gold and precious stones and pearls. In a single moment, now the Revelation 9 says in 1 hour, what's able to take out a whole country, 5,000 square miles inside of an hour? ICBM missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And we know that this is the place. We know that this is Babylon. We know how this place is going to be taken out. All the wealth of the cities is gone, and all the captains of the merchant ships and their passengers and sailors and crews will stand at a distance, because the way the goods come in, they come in by boats. They come in by these boats. You have what's called merchant marines. They will cry out as they watch the smoke ascend, and they will say, where is there another city as great as this? And because the thing was, you go back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, the dream was to come to America. The dream was to come to, whether it be Italy, whether it be wherever, India. That's why this is known as a great melting pot. In the scriptures called the Great Cauldron, because so many people from different nations came over here to become what? To become rich or to do better. It says, and they will weep and throw dust on their heads, which they're not going to do that. That's an old custom of mourning. Now, you might have some of the countries that might do it, but China's not going to do it. China ain't going to take no, Italy is not going to take no dust and put it on their head. That goes back to the way they mourn in the ancient world. The prophets, they used to tear their garments up when they would mourn, pull the beards. Nehemiah, I believe, pulled his beard out, tore his garments because of the sin of Israel. It's threw dust on their head. It says, show their grief, and they. So this is poetic. It says, and they will cry out, how horrible, how terrible for that great city. And there ain't no damn Vatican City, which is 2 miles square. You can run around Vatican City in what? You can run around the entire Vatican City in less than an hour. It says, so how can that be Babylon the Great? How terrible for that great city. The ship owners, because the ones that became rich are the ship owners. The ship owners are also the ones that own the manufacturers, became wealthy by transporting or exporting her great wealth on the seas, her merchandise. In a single moment, it is all gone. Actually, inside of an hour. Rejoice. Now, what are we to do? We're supposed to be happy about it. Don't worry about your favorite uncle getting burnt up. Don't worry about your cousin, your kids if they ain't right. We ain't gonna worry about them, because we know they're gonna come back in the kingdom. It's a rejoice. So it says to rejoice, be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Rejoice over her faith, O heaven and people of the Most High, starting with the elect, and apostles and prophets. Did the Most High say bishops? And did the Most High say bishops or deacons or generals? Yeah, you had the Passover. We called you Bishop Nathaniel, you're a general. Well, the Most High is not dealing with generals. The Most High is not dealing with high priests. The Most High is, although we're the head of a high priest, because we teach you the law, the Most High didn't say bishop. What did he say? He said what? He said, rejoice over her faith, O heaven, and people of the Most High, Israelites, starting with the elect, and apostles and prophets. So who's the man of the Most High? As Orson Welles said in the late great Planet Earth, he said the prophet was the Most High's man. The prophet was God's man. So those are the important people. Prophets, apostles are also prophets. And what does a prophet do? They prophesy. It says, for at last the Most High has judged her for your sakes. So why did the Most High judge this place? For us, for the apostles, the prophets, the elect of Israel, not for the rest of Israel, just for the elect of Israel, because you're gonna feel that fire. You're gonna feel that fire, like Peebo Bryson said. Peebo Bryson said, and Stephanie Mills said, you're gonna feel that fire. Then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a huge millstone. Now in the translation, it's great millstone, Magus Mulos. He threw it into the ocean and shouted like this, just like this, the great city Babylon will be thrown down with violence and will never be found again. That's Jeremiah. I believe that's Jeremiah. Matter of fact, let me go to it. We almost out of here. I know I went long. I believe it's Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51. Let me start from the first. Let me go to the 25th verse. Yep, 25th verse. But you know what I'm going to do? Start the first verse. This is one of my favorite chapters too. Jeremiah 49, 50, and 51. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will rise up against Babylon. We know what Babylon is talking about. Now, if you ask vocab, oh, that's talking about ancient Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. You don't know the prophecies. And against them that dwell in the midst of them, the foreigners and the 2/3 of Israel that raise up against me a what? A destroying wind. That's the nuclear blast, the wind from the nuclear blast. They call it a nuclear wind. I will also break, I'm sorry, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain. That's U.S. Let me start from the 24th verse. And I will render unto Babylon, no, it's talking about the prophetic Babylon, and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea that dwell in Babylon, the new Babylon, all their evil that they have done in Zion, or to Zion, to the Israelites. in your sight, saith Yahweh. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain. It is not talking about the EU nations, it's not talking about NATO. It's talking about the unofficial head of NATO, which is the U.S. Saith Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, Babylon, and roll thee down from the rock, and will make thee a what? A burnt mountain. The burnt mountain mean they're gonna get hit with missiles. '22nd verse. The sound of harps are singing, flutists and trumpets will never be heard in you again. A lot of Jace became rich off of the music industry. No craftsmen and no trades will ever be found in you again, because this place is going to be uninhabitable, as it says in the first Planet of the Apes. This would be called the Forbidden Zone. And sound of the mill, which means working, will never be heard in you again. And the light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The happy voices of brides and grooms will never be heard in you again. For your merchants were the great men in the world, and you deceived the nations with your what? Your sorcery. With your sorcery. You got your power from the left-hand side. Let me look up the word. Sorcery means witchcraft. In your streets flowed the blood of the prophets. You killed many of the prophets, the apostles, the elect of Israel, and Israel as a whole. So you're going to have to pay for, Babylon's going to have to pay for the sins that they committed when they were the Roman Empire. When the ancient Babylonians took us down, Esau was a part and parcel of that. So you're not just going to pay for what you did here in the States. You're going to pay for all your previous lives, what you did in your previous lives. And of the Most High's holy people, the Israelites, and the blood of people slaughtered all over the world, because we were scattered all over the world. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.